Hey, welcome to the Recovery 180 podcast. And today I am honored to have my friend Niall. And Niall, you are in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan right now, right?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
There you go. So you kind of split between Dawson Creek, BC and Saskatoon, I understand.
Yeah. It's just kind of like I do like men's and other things there, and then I come home and I do speaking in within the province and stuff
Oh,
like
okay.
that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you just begin by telling us a little bit about
Mm.
yourself, where you grew up, and get rolling from there, and a little bit about your life. We'll get started
Right on.
there.
Okay. Well, right now I'm actually sitting in the house that I grew up in.
Oh, cool.
There's a lot of reference to this house in the book, but we'll get into that later.
Right,
Saskatoon, Saskatchewan's always been my home,
right.
but I've traveled a lot. I've moved around a lot in various parts of the country, and it always seems to bring me home.
Hmm.
No matter what career I'm doing or what I'm doing in life, it always brings me home. So here I am, and yeah, happy to be here.
Oh, great. So, so Saskatoon, that's been home. That's where you kind of got your start. Tell me what it was like growing up as a kid in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Well, as a kid, I'm part of the '60s group, so it
Hmm.
was very difficult being a First Nations individual in like a dominant Caucasian school.
Hmm.
But my parents were great parents. They taught me great manners, and I adapted actually very well. For what was happening at that time, I had a lot of friends,
Hmm.
always playing hockey, sports, soccer. I was very involved in sports. I was very artistic and, you know, it made it very easy to kind of get a great group of friends.
Hmm.
So growing up in Saskatoon as a youth was awesome. BMX was a big part of my life, and
Right.
yeah, it was
So,
really good actually.
so being Indigenous, like you didn't grow up on a reservation then? You just grew up in Saskatoon, the city?
Yeah, I was adopted through a program called AIM, which is Adopt Indigenous and Métis.
Okay.
I was 6 months old when I was adopted,
Mm,
but the government actually came in and took me from the residence of my mother's, or actually my auntie's, at a
mm,
very young age. So I was in the foster care of the city hospital for a while
mm. So how
before
do
I was
you
adopted.
So how do you feel that um, whole process maybe affected you as you were growing up? Do you think that that had an impact on you?
Oh, absolutely. It wasn't until I was about 4 or 5 where, I was attending church with my family and, they would say, "Oh, and who's this little guy?" Because I'm
Hmm.
different skin tone, right? So,
Yeah.
and my mother would say, "That's our son." And people were like, you adopted an indigenous, or an Indian at that time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it has pros and cons, but I did grow up with great family core values, faith-based,
Mm-hmm.
and it's taken me a long way. Although, through any family or any kind of organization, there's opportunities for things to happen,
So what
and
was
one of
what
the
what was school like for you growing up?
school was difficult for
Hmm.
me because there was a misunderstanding of fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, FASD,
Right.
which I now advocate for. But I mean, I was a misunderstood student who was a First Nations, and I was labeled as a troublemaker. I was labeled as a trouble child. So a lot of detention,
Mm.
you know, that kind of thing.
So did you so you came then your original parents then there is fetal alcohol you got fetal alcohol syndrome as a result of that background?
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it was the background. But being an international speaker on the topic, I've learned a lot of the language that was
Hmm.
used back then and
Right.
some of the policies that are put in place right now. And we can have the discussion another time, but
Yeah.
it's not a very fair process. Basically, if you're First Nation, the doctor asks you, "Have you been drinking?" If you're Caucasian or any other ethnic background, Japanese or Chinese or whatever, the question is never asked.
Mm. So
So
you grew up with that. That was something that
stigma.
you had to live with, and you said you got into a bit of trouble, spent a little time in detention. Like, just walk us through some of those school years and some of the things, maybe some of the trouble you got into, and how that all affected you.
Sure. So I really didn't care about school. I was kind of like the class clown, wanted to talk to everybody,
Hmm.
not do my homework, not do my work, always a distraction.
Hmm.
And the teachers were pretty strict. I got detention one time and I'd forgotten because of FASD and I got so excited about recess, so I ran out and we used to play tetherball, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so here I am. I'm a young kid, I'm playing tetherball, and the teacher yells at me, "Oh, get in the boot room!" And I was like, yeah, I was in big trouble.
Hmm.
And at that time, a teacher could lay hands on you, and you know, and he
Hmm.
threw me against the wall, and I actually hit my head on the back of the concrete wall. And I went home. I went home from school because I got expelled. But I told my father about that, and let's just say I never got touched again.
Yeah. So how
Yeah,
old would
yeah.
you have been when that started happening?
Would have been 8, 9, about 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, so did you, because you're a little bit of a rebel inside you and you were kind of already getting into a little bit of trouble, did that lead you then down any tough roads with alcohol or drugs, or where did that all happen?
Well, the alcohol and drugs took place when I was actually in high school, grade 9. Um, I lost a brother to a drinking and driving accident.
Mm,
He's my everything. He's my big brother, right?
right, right.
And at the time, I was just getting into high school, so I had made a lot of friends in high school because a lot of the friends from my elementary school went there, and so it was an easy transition. But when
Mm,
my brother died, I went into a very dark place. I started drinking heavily. I started doing the heaviest drugs I could do.
mm,
Um, I was fighting a lot more. I was I was just a lot more careless, a lot more angry.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And it was just a difficult time because my choice of drug wasn't just like marijuana, which I wish it was now, but it was cocaine. I got
mm-hmm,
introduced to cocaine at a party in grade 10, just
mm.
after my brother died, and yeah, that was the end of it. I was addicted because I just loved the high I got off it, and
And
that
you,
high continued. That high continued from year to year to year, and the more amount and more amount, I got, and then I got into the fashion industry, and it got even worse, right? So
mm-hmm.
yeah,
So the use of drugs then was really covering up some trauma and some loss and some pain, probably lots of other trauma along the way that you came
yeah,
with, and so the drugs were a way of masking that, right?
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was my only way out.
Hmm. And
Yeah, and
so,
what?
no, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I kept it from everybody. I was a pretty good closet addiction addict, but there came a time when I had to share with my parents, right? I had to tell them what was up, you know,
Hmm.
and then that took courage. So, but that's what I consider facing your fears in a sense, like I had to
Hmm.
face the fear of my parents knowing that I was an addict, and I was walking through society like kind of like uh, incognito, kind of like on eggshells all the time. And
So
I was really getting
that's a good discussion point in itself. Like, so how did your parents react to you telling them that you were actively using drugs?
well, they were disappointed because of the way I was raised.
Hmm.
See, my parents never did any of that stuff,
Hmm.
in the
Hmm.
old ways, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, strict German family, Mennonite,
Hmm.
my grandmother was very strong. But later in life, I learned that they went through the same trauma, right? But they didn't do the drugs,
Hmm.
so it runs in the family a long ways, right? And as I would assume a lot of families out there, right? Uncles, grandpas, and whatever. Um, but yeah, I went down a very dark path and I was doing up to a very large amount a
Hmm.
day. Yeah.
So, so how did your parents, what role did they play then in you moving forward in a positive way? Like, were they, I'm assuming that they were walking close with you or supportive as you as best as they could?
Yeah, well, I was actually in Vancouver at the time when I hit rock bottom for like the fifth or sixth time.
Mm-hmm.
And I said I gotta go. Like I gotta get away from this area. And I met an old girlfriend of mine, and she was changed. She was like a completely different person. So I was like, "Well, if what's happened with her?" So I was like, "What happened to you?" And she's like, "Oh, I go to this church downtown, and you know, we pray and we have coffee and stuff like that." And I was like, "Well, I need change in my life. Can I come with you?" She's go,
Mm-hmm.
"Yeah, for sure. Come on." She goes,
Was
"Come
this
on
in
down."
Vancouver?
This is in Vancouver, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I went with her for a number of months, and I was sitting in this congregation, and the pastor had said, if you're struggling with something and you're having troubles, and if you want to deal with it right now,
Mm-hmm.
you can do this. And he said, all you have to do is kind of raise your hands and surrender yourself to Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that, and I had an outer body experience. And I can remember the spirit coming into me, and it was like I was pure. I couldn't think about drugs. I couldn't think about anything bad. Like it was just like a wild experience.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I'd called my mother, and I said, "Hey, mom, and she goes, stop, son. I already know. I can tell." I
Oh,
said, "Tell what?" She says, "You received the spirit." I got goosebumps right now just from telling that
I know.
story.
So do I.
Yeah, it was
Just hearing that.
really,
Yeah.
it was really special. So the original question was what? Sorry, I just kind of
Well, I
went
was
off
just
topic.
talking about support from your family and
Yeah,
stuff like that, but I'm assuming that that support became much easier once you made a commitment to follow the Lord, right?
yeah, yeah. And the fact that my mother was stop, like I was on the phone with Vancouver, she's in Saskatoon,
Yeah.
and she's like, stop. And I was like, what? Oh, I got goosebumps again. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a after that, everything wasn't so hard. I said, Mom, I did this, Mom, I did that. It was a very back and forth conversation. Although they didn't understand, like they don't understand the effects of it, they don't understand, the longevity acts of it, right?
Hmm.
But it was very easy to be open-hearted.
Well,
Um,
no doubt they had probably been doing lots of praying for you when you were in the middle of your addiction, right?
oh yeah. Yeah, my mom said she prayed every night,
Yeah.
and stuff like that kind of gets me emotional because she just passed, but yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it's
so then that legacy of prayer falls on you to carry on, right? And I mean that's
yeah.
pretty important that they were there praying for you. So you had a traumatic change. Um, so did you leave Vancouver then shortly after that, then come back to Saskatoon, or what was the process there?
No, actually, the lady or the woman who introduced me to the church, we got engaged, and she wanted to go a different direction, and I felt drawn to come back home and speak with the First Nations people.
Mm-hmm.
And so she decided to follow her dream, go to California. And I was like, well, I'd like to go up north to Saskatchewan and see what I could do, as a
Right.
speaker, as
Right.
somebody who can share your story of faith and give hope to others. And that's
Right. Right. Yeah.
that's basic. Yeah.
So you went. So you moved back to Saskatoon,
Yeah.
and so what did you do from that point on? Then you get plugged into a church and kind of get rolling on your faith walk and
Yeah. Yeah. No, I got connected with a church called Connect, actually. It's
okay.
kind of funny. And so yeah, I went there, and I met a gal, and we had a long, long relationship. I was out in Warman. I started doing some community work because I was passionate about the sport of BMX.
Hmm.
I actually built, well, with help, but I mean, my vision, we built the best track basically in Canada, really.
Mm.
It was built by Olympian Trent Jones, and you know, I had some huge successes in the world of BMX. Coaching like people like Max, I forget his last name right now, but he's number one pro Canada, right?
Mm.
BMX pro. So yeah, I don't know. I just aligned myself, and it just took off in the BMX world. And then once that was done, I just jumped back into motivational speaking and obviously the book.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that a little bit now. You've got a book out. Do you have it there that you could pop up on the screen? Show us what you.
Mm.
So a line runs through it. So that's a brand new book that you just put out not too long ago, right?
Yeah, about 2.5 months ago.
And so tell us about that book. What's it? It's your story, right?
Yeah, this is a memoir of my life, of some of the topics that we've talked about. Um, it's a story about overcoming your fears and working through your addictions,
Mm-hmm.
and redemption. Redemption being ultimately surrendering my life and reaping the rewards of following faith.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And it
but it's a very okay.
talks about your trauma and what some of what you've gone through. Like it says, the story of sexual abuse, addiction, and redemption.
Yeah.
And so all of that was what made you who you are today, right?
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? There's many sequels to come. This is basically the old trauma, the old Nile, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, it, I've moved mountains since struggling for all those years for nothing.
Mm-hmm. So
You
tell me
know,
about the impact that you had on the Indigenous community and how you've been involved and plan to be involved in that in the future.
um, so with the indigenous people, I found my family, I found my bloodline. I,
Right,
I think we
right.
talked about that. So that's been really interesting. And I recently I just lost another brother, but
Mm,
um, it seems to be losing lots of people. But you know, when you write this kind of stuff, and you're able to take it to the nations, and be able to express, like, listen, like, I am First Nations, I'm here to help.
mm-hmm,
How can I help? Here, you can't think of something? Here, have a read and get back to me.
mm-hmm.
And it becomes very clear to them.
And so
And
they're willing to listen to you because you understand and you come from that bloodline, right? So um, does how does that feel? I mean, you've come from a life of drugs and a really rough life to finding a strong faith to becoming like a motivational speaker and an author, and you got a second book on the go that's going to be coming out. Like when you, well, and success in BMX, too. Like when you look at your life, does that impress you or excite you, or do you think, is that really me? Have I really, is that, have I come through all that? That's got to be kind of exciting for you.
yeah, well, like, there's a positive to every negative, and there's like yin and, what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so my highest point until this was the fashion world, right? Like, I was an international model. I did body fitness. I did it all, like, fitness wise,
Oh,
right?
wow.
And those successes were dreams of mine.
Mm-hmm.
I always dreamt of being that person. I always dreamt of writing a book. I always dreamt of doing a BMX thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I've struggled a lot in life, but ultimately, what gave me the power to achieve these things was my faith.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No question. Because
Yep.
I was not successful on the level as I am today.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying I'm like over the top successful. I'm just saying the successes that I've worked hard for, the successes that I believed in, they're being achieved. And I'm
So,
I'm able to I'm able to share with others what it took for me to get there.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And that all began when you began your faith walk.
absolutely, no question.
And so, just if we could kind of unpackage that a little bit, what would you say to people that are maybe watching this that are suffering with addiction and they're on that addiction road? What advice would you give them in regards to how that faith decision has made a difference in your life?
Well, I'll put it like this. My advice, honestly, would, like, I end all my presentations like this. And regardless if the school wants me to talk about faith or not, I say it anyway
Mm-hmm.
because it's so important and
Right.
it's so true, right? So my advice really is to find a pastor or a minister or somebody who understands the process on the words to say for you to receive the Spirit. Surrender your life to Jesus Christ. It is real,
Mm-hmm.
like, undoubtedly real. It'll change your life that fast.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I hear the most is like, oh, it won't work for me, blah 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 blah. Excuse, excuse, excuse. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. When you truly give your heart to the Lord, you will immediately see results. Like
Mm-hmm.
like faster than you can blink an eye, you will be purified in his spirit. And that was the key turning point in my whole life. And now, like when I recognize the evil, I just pray like protect me from these evil thoughts, blah 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 blah. Don't let it enter me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you're protected,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're able to see the dark and the light in everything. It's the spiritual world, right? You know it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Well,
so
so you've come through sexual abuse, you've come through addiction, you've come through adoption, which has been,
yeah.
you've had lots of different things in your life that have been kind of sort of stumbling blocks, but your faith is really just fired you up. Obviously, I can tell by talking to you that it fires you up, and you must be really excited about the future.
You know what? I am because I can walk through life now with no shame, no fear, no doubt. You know,
So,
all of
speaking, is that mainly then up north? Are you trying to reach the indigenous community, or are you going into regular schools
oh
too, or?
yeah, I've gone Canada wide numerous times throughout my career,
Mm-hmm.
but now it's a totally different message. I was speaking on my brother's drinking and driving before was sad.
Right.
So I took that across country.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we go back and forth a couple times. And then I got another topic like let's say addictions, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But now it's like now my repertoire of speaking is so verse. I can speak on pretty much anything, even motivational stuff, right? How to set goals, all that kind of stuff, don't be a procrastinator, chase your dreams at all cost in life, a lot of people just work that 9 to 5, 9 to 5, 9 to 5 like a robot,
Mm-hmm.
but then you never get to feel what it's like to catch a dream, like your dream, And so I'm very passionate about that, chasing dreams and, all my little projects. My next book is, almost, 6 months out, right? So, and then there's another one already after that. So I think I'm gonna write about 6 or 7 books, I think.
Oh, cool. Well, as
Yeah.
a life coach and a recovery coach, I would say that you're really on a really good path because you sound like you've really set some goals and you're not just talking about it, you're actually putting them into action. And
Yeah.
so it's yeah, that's pretty cool. Did you ever think you would ever be a writer?
Never in a million. I'm gonna share something here. Because I've got FASD, I've got about a grade 3 level reading.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I never in my whole life have I ever read a full book except for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't read books, but apparently I can write. So
So what does that tell you that when you walk with God that he can do for you?
he can do things that you think were not possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all day long.
Yeah, that's great. So as
Yeah.
we kind of wind down here a little bit, like if you were going to put out a challenge to anybody out there, whether it be Indigenous people or just the everyday type of people, just an everyday message or whatever, but just a challenge that would be on your heart right now that you'd feel you'd like to reach out and share with people.
Can I get two?
Sure.
Number one. Number one would be find Jesus. That's number one. Number
Mm,
two is face all your fears of life. It is a must. I think it's like 98% of people die with fears in their heart,
mm-hmm,
fears on the brain. Um, they're not going to be me. But
mm-hmm,
I advise people like if you have a fear of riding horses, you have a fear of riding bikes, or you have a fear of driving, or whatever the case may be, you have a fear of approaching somebody about something that happened to you as a child.
mm-hmm.
My advice, honestly, is to face that like straight on, hit it straight on, and what will happen is you'll become stronger. You'll become stronger, and you'll be able to take your power back. You know what I mean?
So what about the fear for those that are in addiction? The fear of, it's not easy to quit, it's not easy to detox. It's not easy to,
Mhm.
there's lots of relapse. Like, what about that fear when somebody's in the middle of addiction?
I've worked through that fear. And just quickly, the fear that I had was, who am I without the drugs?
Right.
And to be
Good
honest with
point.
you, you don't have a sniff who you are because you've been doing drugs for so long.
Yeah, good
Your
point.
mind is all clouded and stuff. So it's like my advice for that is just to know that you're worth it.
Hmm.
Like know that you're worth the hard work it's going to take to get your life back.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
That person is still there. It's that addiction that's causing the problem. It's not the person, right? You
Yeah.
know, so that's great. I'm excited.
Mhm.
I know you got a book coming my way. I'm excited
Yeah,
to read it.
absolutely. Yeah.
I'm certainly going to plug it. Those that are watching, I'm going to put it down in my comment section so that people can order a book from you. And book number two is around the corner and it's coming.
Around the corner. Yeah.
And plus you've got some really great ideas and stuff. I'd love to be able to hear you. Anybody that has an opportunity to hear you speak sometime, certainly that I would jump on that. So, any final
Mhm.
points before we wind this one down?
Final points. Thank you for your time, Glenn. It's
Mm.
been it's been a real pleasure being here. And everything that I kind of mentioned earlier, challenge yourself. Do it. Try it at least. Don't procrastinate. Be a doer. You know.
And so, how about just one more thing that just popped into my head? What do you see the value in having community and having people around you that support you and keep you rolling?
It's a must.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a must. Uh, it is possible to do it on your own, but it's a lot harder. Well, like you brought up the thing with my mom earlier, and how supportive they were. My mother was my loudest cheerleader. She cheered me on. Oh, my son's on this. My son wrote a book. My son did this. My son, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And to have her in my corner was just like a big push.
Hmm.
Get going. Don't stop. Keep going. So,
So get out there, get your community, whether it's an A group or church group or as long as it's positive people, right, that are going to speak positivity into you and faith.
yeah,
And yeah,
absolutely.
and obviously God's been a really big part of your life and will
Yeah.
continue to. So yeah, that's great, Niall. It's been great to finally get you on an interview, and I look forward to talking to you further down the road
Yeah.
about more of your adventures and stuff like that. So thank you for taking time, and I look forward
Guys, catching my
to
thing?
seeing what the impacts are and hearing more. How many books have you sold that first round?
I think right now I'm just over 5,700.
Oh, right on, good.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they can get your book on Amazon.
Yeah, on Amazon or Bimble. Bimble's like the audio book.
Okay, okay. Just show us your book again, just so we've got a picture of it. And maybe you can
Mm.
text me a picture of that, and I'll post it on my social media also. But A Line Runs Through It by Niall Schofelt. So great. All right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for taking time, and we'll chat down the road.
Okay, Glenn. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
You take care.